My name is Murphy Grimes, and I knew Gene Shep'S. I met him as a little kid. It seems I had an uncle who was the ideal uncle who would take me on great walking tours of New York. We would stop in a Horn and Hardart. It was on 57th Street. And he would meet with this strange guy. I was told at the time his name was Mr. Shep'S. And the strangest thing happened. This normally rambunctious but kind uncle of mine would meet with this gentleman, and the two of them would start to argue and argue and argue. This went on for years, and as I became a little more mature, I started to realize that it didn't make sense to me, because I suddenly hear my uncle espousing things he doesn't even believe in. And it suddenly occurred to me the whole purpose of their meeting was to sit and argue with each other. It didn't matter what the topic was, they were going to fight about it. He's a multitude of things. It depends on what you like. That's part of the wonders of Shep'S' writings, is that you recognize some of the people. They're people you knew. And you know, one of the things that we argued about was the fact that he would claim, it's not so much early on, but later in life, to have made up all the stories, that they all came out of his head. And I said, no, you lived a good portion of this. You did or lived. You're claiming to have made it up now. And where he got really angry on it, and he got red, and then he started to laugh. He bust out laughing. I believe it was Henry Morgan accused him of being anti-Semitic. And yet he shared an office with Barry Farber for years, who was Jewish, say it had nothing to do with religion. It had everything to do with who was in power, who was the boss. He was anti-boss. If you happened to be Jewish, that's fine. You were the subject of his ire. But you could have been Zen Buddhist. If you were the boss, he was your enemy. He took it that way. We talked about this, and I said, Shep, your entire life sounds like bullshit. Shep would needle anyone. There was no sacred cows. And he sort of flips me this envelope. Check this out, kid. It's got a Playboy logo on it. I open it up, and it's a letter from Hugh Hefner chastising him for mocking Playboy. And in one of the lines in there was, has it occurred to you that you're biting the hand that feeds you? Mr. Hefner was a very bright man, not smart when it comes to chastising Shep'S. I would say at least once or twice a week for the next year, there was a shot at Playboy during a Shep'S show. Not a big shot, just a little zing here and there. Shep'S was not very fond of the British. He pretty much hated the whole damn country. A lot of it came had to do with English actors playing American roles and how much he resented it. And he definitely detested rock music. I've always been of the belief that that's the reason he got the Playboy interview for the Beatles. What better way to punish him than to send him to England for 10 days and have to tour with a rock group? Lois mentioned that he was not amused at having to go, and that it wasn't until the interview was a big success that he acknowledged that it was okay. Shep used to meet sometimes about once a year, maybe it went longer than that, maybe shorter than that, in the city, in a little place called McSorley's Old Ale House. And I happened to get called, and I went in, and there was Shep'S sitting there with John Lennon. And they would sit and argue. Shep had no sacred cows. He would go after everyone, at least in those days. Shep'S detested cute. Shep'S also liked to go against whatever was popular. I learned never to lie to Shep'S. Now, he could lie to you, and I am sure he lied up one wall and down the other to me, but if he caught you in a lie, I think you were done. He made some allusion to his old man taking off, that it wasn't all warmth and charm, that his father took off at some point. But we're talking, and I mentioned to him, do the people of Hammond have any idea how you really felt about growing up in Hammond? I know you had a certain reverence for the steel mill there and a great deal of respect for the people and what went into it. But the city of Hammond, did they have any idea what you really thought of Hammond? In God We Trust came out in like 64, if I remember right, 64, 65. And I said it was a lot of years until the movie came out. I said, what do you think caused that? And I said, didn't you get offers? And all? He goes, oh yeah. I had several offers to make it into, different versions of it into a film, and turned them down. Because I needed a lot of creative control. I said, well, how did you manage to get the control? Why did they suddenly give it to you? And he just, like this, as they found out I didn't need the money. I spoke to him a lot more after A Christmas Story than before. He wasn't a Barbra Streisand fan. And because he felt that the studio didn't do right by the movie, that they dumped all their money into pushing Yentl and not into A Christmas Story. And he was kind of pissed about it. I learned very quickly not to mention My Summer Story to him. He would lose his mind over it. He hated it beyond belief. And my uncle was quick to point out certain inconsistencies, because the one thing with my uncle was, he was obsessed with consistency. And years later, he pointed out, he was the one who pointed out to me that Shep'S as he aged, became more and more conservative. And not that being conservative is bad, but that he, over time, was becoming what he had satirized, that the satire was gone.